Chronicles of Prometheus Volume 1. Departure, The Illusion Beyond Act 1. Farewell to Earth, Chapter 1. A Final Orbit. The Earth's upper atmosphere now resembled a tattered veil thinned and scarred by centuries of pollution and climate warfare. Through the panoramic window of the command deck, Captain Jaxon Reeve stood motionless, his storm-gray eyes fixed on the dim, ashen horizon. Below, the ruins of once great cities flickered with scattered lights, faint, stubborn pulses from a dying civilization. Hermes spoke, its voice a calm, gender-neutral baritone with a signature composure. "Captain Reeve, all crew members have reported ready. Activation of the Exodus initiative commences in 15 minutes. Jaxon didn't answer right away. He placed a hand on the cold steel railing, feeling the subtle hum of the Prometheus as the Mark IV neutrino drive spooled up in standby mode. And in that brief moment, an old wound resurfaced, the memory of the Sydney collapse, 2163, the deadliest dust storm in recorded history. It took his wife and daughter in a single afternoon. This is no longer home. Jaxon murmured not quite to anyone, yet his voice carried clearly through the command mic. Hermes responded gently, without judgment. Captain ... Earth remembers what humanity has done, and humanity must remember what it has lost. The command deck door slid open with a hiss. Myra Sue entered petite in frame, but with eyes that burned with a quiet intensity. She wore the uniform of the United Human Alliance, its collar embroidered with the emblem of the Exodus Initiative, Prometheus holding a flame. But this time, the flame was a double helix strand of DNA symbolizing hope and knowledge. Jaxon. Myra hesitated, then gently placed a hand on his arm. "Are you all right?" Jaxon turned to her, his gaze a blend of resolve and exhaustion. Finally, he gave a small nod. "Let's go, Myra. There's nothing left to stay for." Outside the window, the Hong Se spaceport lay buried in red dust. Crowds had gathered to bid farewell to the Prometheus. There were no cheers, no banners, only faces etched with despair. All their remaining hope now rested on this ship. Hermes spoke again. "Captain, Commander Novak requests an urgent meeting in the main control room." He emphasized, "This is not a suggestion." Jaxon smirked faintly. "Still Novak?" Then to Myra, "Come, the world's waited long enough." The main corridor of the Prometheus stretched on endlessly, illuminated by simulated daylight that cycled every 24 hours to preserve the crew's circadian rhythm. Beneath its titanium carbon and ceramic hull, the massive vessel was more than just transport. It was a home, a final fortress for the human race. Along the way, Alex Carter, chief engineer, popped into view, his sleeves stained with grease, a mischievous grin on his face. "Jaxon, just ran diagnostics on the plasma thrust module. Trust me, it's purring smoother than Hermes promises." Hermes replied immediately, deadpan but laced with dry wit. "Chief Engineer Carter, my promises possess a far higher quantitative reliability than your subjective confidence." Mira chuckled. The tension in the air eased, if only briefly. But Jaxon merely glanced at them before continuing forward, his mind weighed down by the truth. The Exodus initiative wasn't just a mission. It was the final test. When the doors to the main control room slid open, Commander Novak was already there. His combat uniform of the United Human Alliance was crisp to regulation. His steel-gray eyes locked onto Jaxon's with zero emotional excess. "Captain Reeve," Novak said curtly, his voice low and gravelly. "I require final confirmation. Are you prepared to execute the priority security protocol, even if it means sacrificing non-essential crew?" A long silence stretched between them. Jaxon lifted one corner of his mouth in a dry half-smile. "I'll make sure Prometheus completes the mission." But Novak, he stepped closer, closing the gap to a single arm's length. "Don't forget, this ship doesn't just carry steel and objectives. It carries people." Their eyes locked, tension sharp as wire. Mira remained silent, but her gaze observed every twitch. Alex Carter whistled softly, mock-stepping back. Oh boy, here comes the philosophical showdown. I'll just stand clear. Hermes interjected this time, almost gently. Captain, launch countdown has begun. 10 minutes. In Jackson's heart, that voice rang like a funeral bell, not just for the Prometheus, but for the entire Earth. The countdown echoed through every chamber of the Prometheus. Each number Hermes recited rang cold and clear, like the heartbeat of someone about to step into destiny. Time is 9 minutes. Jaxon left the main control room and walked straight toward the command bridge, where everything would begin. Behind him, Myra Sue, Alex Carter, and Commander Novak followed in silence, each consumed by their own thoughts. The path to the bridge led through a long glass corridor, offering a view of the ash-covered plains beyond Hong Se Launch Complex. From here, Jaxon could see the smallest children in the crowd. Their eyes neither wept nor smiled. They simply stared upward, as if they, more than anyone else, understood. There was no one left to place their hope in. But this ship, Myra's voice brushed beside him, soft as wind across stones. Do you ever wonder, maybe we're the ones running away? Jaxon paused mid-step. Her question echoed quietly, sinking deeper than any sight before him. But he only said, not running, Myra. It's a journey. To find the answer. From behind, Alex blurted out, the answer. Let's hope it doesn't come with a repair bill after every landing. Hermes chimed in. Chief Engineer Carter, based on current module maintenance patterns, I calculate a 92.4% probability of successful launch, a surprisingly high number. A soft ripple of laughter spread through the crew, briefly cracking the heavy silence. But immediately, Commander Novak stepped forward, voice sharp as glass. Enough. This is not a field trip. Once we set foot on the bridge, we are no longer individuals. We represent the entirety of the United Human Alliance. The automated doors slid open. The bridge of the Prometheus revealed itself stunning in its cold precision. A 360 holographic command ring, dozens of glowing interfaces in soft cerulean blue. At the center, the custom-built captain's chair rotated toward Jaxon like an ancient rite. Hermes spoke softer than usual. Welcome home, Captain. Jaxon sat, his calloused hands settling onto the main control arc. He could feel the deep, steady tremor of the ship's power core climbing toward full output. Crew status report, he commanded. Hermes responded, each update like the ship's heartbeat. Habitation deck, stable. Research bay, fully secure. Neutrino drive Mark IV, ready for ignition. Ship ecology. Artificial gravity steady at 0.9 grams. Circadian simulation nominal. Hangar and shuttle class crafts. Aquila, Corvus, Phoenix, all fueled and cleared. Jaxon nodded to each report. As he'd hoped, the ship wasn't just steel and engines. It was a living body, a soul made of metal, ready to accompany him into the unknown. Novak, he said, turning, initiate launch security protocol. Novak stood at attention, gesturing to the security unit. Signal verification. Disable all external interference. Hermes surveillance radius 200 kilometers. Acknowledged, Commander, Hermes replied. Myra stood to Jaxon's left, her gaze locked on the endless void beyond, the black tapestry of space, both promise and peril. And within it all, she held firm to her belief. No civilization is without value. Hermes resumed the countdown. To -3 minutes. Beneath the Prometheus, the steel launch cradle began to tremble, joints glowing red as the Mark X nuclear core funneled power into the reactors. Massive turbines compressed spiraling plasma along the ship's hull, igniting the night sky with a pillar of blazing blue fire. Jaxon closed his eyes. He thought of the old photograph, still kept in his private quarters. His wife, gentle and golden-haired, holding their little daughter on Bondi Beach, just months before the Sydney collapse erased them both. I'm not doing this just to escape, not just for Earth, but for them, for those who can no longer be here. T-1 minute. Jaxon opened his eyes. Crew, take your positions. Hermes, initiate the Exodus protocol. Hermes answered, its voice carrying something almost human. Roger, Captain. We are making history. T-30 seconds. On the bridge, every crew member was in place. Dr. Tomas, calm as ever, entered in the final moments. He took in the scene with quiet reverence, as if trying to memorize every detail before it was gone. The space fell into complete stillness, only the faint crackle of energy coursing through the holographic command ring around Jaxon Reeve. Hermes spoke. Captain, prepare for Exodus. Main control interface locked. All secondary protocols shifting to automation. Jaxon placed both hands on the curved control panel, his thumbs tracing the glowing arc. A soft click confirmed the final command. Behind him, Commander Novak stood like a statue, unblinking. His steel gaze aimed not just at the void ahead, but at Jaxon himself. A silent warning carved deep beneath his stare. There is no room for doubt, no margin for error. In the silence before ignition, Myra Sue leaned slightly toward Hermes and whispered, Hermes, if we fail this time, will you remember us? Hermes paused for a fraction of a second. A strange silence. For an eye. Then he answered, voice lower than usual. Dr. Sue, my memory systems are designed for infinite data retention. But to me, the memory of all of you isn't just data. It's history. Alex Carter chuckled softly. Look at that, Hermes is writing poetry. Good. If we blow up, I'd at least like to be serenaded by an eye. Jaxon tilted his head, casting Alex a glance equal parts irritation and reluctant sympathy, then turned his eyes back to the main screen. Out there, Earth was sinking into darkness. A once beautiful planet, now depleted and drained of belief. T-10 seconds. Mira took a deep breath, her eyes alight with unwavering resolve. Dr. Thomas closed his eyes and pressed his palms together. Quiet ritual meant only for the universe to hear. Ari, the youngest and most energetic, grinned with reckless hope. Hey, universe, be kind to us this time, will you? 5. The Prometheus began to tremble, barely noticeable. Plasma thrust surged along its hull in streams of brilliant blue. The titanium-carbon surface reflected millions of lights from the ground control towers, turning the ship into a colossal silver torch. 4. Artificial gravity adjusted in real time. Each crew member felt their body lighten ever so slightly, the familiar sign that they were about to leave Earth. Forever. 3. Flames roared from the Neutrino Drive Mark IV, humanity's most advanced propulsion system, and its boldest gamble. 2. Jaxon tightened his grip on the control yoke, his eyes locked on the infinite black beyond. 1. Ignition. The ship leapt off the launch pad. The first violent tremors tore through the last barrier between man and the void. G-forces bore down on their bodies, but the adaptive gravity system kicked in instantly. Through the command deck's reinforced glass, Earth's scorched crimson surface blurred, becoming streaks of torn clouds, then a fading green-blue orb, lonely and fragile. Moments later, Earth lay beneath them, small, delicate, and heartbreakingly alone among the cold stars. Hermes reported, escape velocity achieved. Orbit stable. Prometheus has officially entered Exodus initiative. Alex Carter slapped the side of Jackson's chair. Captain, we did it. But Jaxon didn't answer. He sat still, eyes fixed on the central screen, on the spinning image of Earth, weak and aching. Beside him, Mira placed a gentle hand on his shoulder. We'll find it, Jaxon. A place to save us all. We will. In the hush of the command deck, Hermes spoke again, so softly it seemed meant only for the ship and its crew. The journey has begun. The Prometheus crossed the threshold into the deep dark of space, leaving behind a beautiful but ailing planet on life support. Within the bridge, the lights dimmed. The main display transitioned from orbital metrics to the navigational map, highlighting their first target system, Helios 9, 6.2 light-years from Earth. Hermes announced, "Captain, I recommend initiating long-range voyage protocol. Activate simulated gravity cycles, adjust crew biorhythms, and begin logging Exodus mission logs." Jaxon rose from his chair. His eyes swept across every face on the bridge. Mira Sue, full of hope, but carrying quiet sorrow. Alex Carter, joking on the outside, but with rare caution in his eyes. Commander Novak, unmoving, unreadable. Dr. Tomas, calm as a philosopher amid steel and circuits. Ari, smiling but sharply focused on the glowing readouts, each carried their own burden. And now, they were all part of something larger, part of Prometheus, and part of him. Jaxon spoke, short and firm. "Proceed. Hermes, enter into the log. Day 0. We have departed. A journey with no return." Hermes replied, "Logged. I will file that under Captain Jaxon Reeve's journal. Emotional tag, solemn." Alex snorted. "Look at you, Hermes tagging emotions now?" Ari chimed in. "Next thing you know, Hermes will be writing a novel." Dr. Tomas smiled gently. "That may be a good sign. When a ship in its eye begin forming memories, they cease to be just tools. They become witnesses." Commander Novak cut in coldly. "Witnesses are not irrelevant. The only thing that matters is completing the mission, no matter the cost." A heavy silence descended. Myra turned toward him, her voice calm but firm. "No, Novak, survival is not the only objective. We're here to understand, to learn, and if necessary, to change ourselves." Hermes spoke, his voice even yet slower than usual, as if the eye itself was. Contemplating. "Captain, I've detected an anomaly, an old satellite drifting approximately 500 kilometers from our position. It dates back to the early 21st century, severely damaged, but still carrying a metal plaque with engraved text." Jaxon frowned. "Display it." The main screen zoomed instantly. Floating in the black void was a battered hunk of scorched, twisted metal. One small copper plate, dusted with cosmic debris, shimmered faintly into focus. Here men from the planet Earth first set foot upon the moon. July 1969. We came in peace for all mankind. Silence. That sentence, an ancient message from a time when humanity still dared to dream, still dared to hope, now stood as a final echo, a haunting reminder. At the very moment Prometheus left Earth behind. Jaxon remained still for a long time. Then he whispered, softly just enough for Hermes to record, "We've left, but one day we will return, not just with new technology, but with healed consciousness." Dr. Tomas gently added, "And if we never return, may someone somewhere learn from the very fact that we vanished." Hermes concluded, and this time something in his voice had changed, as though even the AI grasped a new layer of meaning. Day 0. Captain Jaxon Reeve and the crew of the Prometheus have departed. This is no longer an escape, but a search to save Earth and to save themselves. Outside, the endless dark awaited. Prometheus accelerated gradually, modules along its spine glowing blue, metal joints resonating in rhythm with the universe. And in that vast, infinite nothing, for the first time in human history, a ship set out not to harvest resources, but to search for the soul of humanity.